All right, guys, so this is just a video for our section 1 and section 2 quiz. Feel free to use it if you want. It is just a review of the study guide that we did on Friday individually and then review today in class. But I figured I'd go ahead and go over it one more time just so that we're all good for tomorrow when we take our quiz. Now, section 1, right, it says up here to identify appropriate summary statistics for a quantitative data distribution. So remember, that word quantitative means numbers, right? So any data set that is able to be measured by a number. So we're working on identifying those summary statistics, right? So summary statistics are things like the mean, the median, the mode, the range, the lower quartile, the upper quartile, the maximum and the minimum, right? So keep that in mind when we're working through these, okay? So the first section is about interpreting box and whisker plots, which means, right, we don't have a mean. Have a box and whiskers plot, we only have a median. Okay, so that being said, it's asking us the first question: what is the median score? In order to find the median score, you're just looking at the line that's drawn through the box, right? It looks like it's lined up with 85. So therefore, our median score is 85. Okay, now we're going to look at our lower quartile. Okay, so if this is the middle, this side is the lower. Right? And there's only two places where it really changes. Right here, where the box starts, and the very end, right? Well, remember, the lowest number is our minimum, right? And that's not what it's asking for. It's asking for the lower quartile, right? So our lower quartile is always where the box starts, right here. So we kind of look and measure it up, right? I'll take a guess and say it's about 78, okay? If you say 79, I wouldn't take points off there. This isn't a very good number line on your quiz. You won't have to worry about that. The number line is pretty precise. But as long as it's close, I'll give you points. Okay? And then we're looking for the upper quartile, right? So using some common sense here, right? Some context clues. If the lower quartile is where the box begins, then the upper quartile is where the box ends, which if we line it up here, it looks like it's about 93. Again, put 94. That's okay. It's close enough. And then finally, or I guess there's two more questions, but the second to last question says, what percentage of students score between 78 and 85? So from about here to here, what was the percentage? Well, remember the entire point of a box plot, and this is very important, right? The entire point of a box plot is to split it up into 4 even parts. So each quartile is 25%. So this line here, before the box starts, 25%. This left half of the box is 25%. Right half of the box is 25%, and the last whisker here is 25%. So the percent from 78 to 85, 25%. Okay? Then we have a true or false question, right? It says what? It says more students scored less than 78 and scored greater than 93. True or false? And why? So let's look at it, right? They're saying less people scored here than here, right? Well, if we look at our percentages, this is still 25%, the whole thing. This is still 25%, the whole thing. So it's false. Our answer there is false. And we can say false because each section is 25%. This makes them equal. Or if you want to put the same. Just like that. Okay? So that's identifying. Okay? Now we're going to come down to the next section and we're going to find the median of the following sets of data. So starting with this one over here, right? Remember, the median is the middle number of an ordered data set. Now, ordered is the key word there. If it's not from least to greatest, you need to put the numbers from least to greatest. Okay? But for this one, we don't have to worry about that because they're already put from least to greatest. So we're going to go through and find our median. We do that by striking 1 on each side each time until we have one number left in the middle. So we think we have one number left in the middle. One way to check is to make sure I have the same amount of cross-out marks on this side as I do over here. I have 4 on this side, I have 4 on this side. So therefore, this number that was not crossed out really is my middle number, or my median, which is 7. Okay, let's do the same thing over here. Already ordered from least to greatest. So I can go through and start marking out on one side each. So we go one, just like this, from side to side, until I get to this point where I look and I have two numbers left in the middle. Because I look over here, I have 4. Look over here, I have 4. So if I mark out 1, it's going to be uneven now. So that means I have 2 numbers left in the middle. What do I do when I have 2 numbers left in the middle? I like to circle them, but then we're going to find their average. So the first thing we do, add them together. So 14 plus 11 will give me 25, and divide by how many numbers there are. So there's 1 here in our circle. So I divide by 2 to get 12.5. And this 12.5 will end up being my median. So the question underneath both of those says, how is the process different in finding the median of the first data set versus the second? So I'm going to put, because it was true, right? In the second data set, we had to find the average of the 2 middle numbers. Okay, the first one we didn't have to do that. Now I do also want to put an important note here. So I'm going to star it, and actually I'm going to write it in a different color. This is important. We did talk about it today. Okay, but remember, if a data set has an even amount of variables, then we will have to take the average of the middle 2 numbers. Okay, so if we look at this first data set, if we counted how many numbers we had there, we had 9, and we just got one singular number in the middle, 7, right? That's how it works. If you have a data set with an odd amount of variables, right, you're going to get one number in the middle. Easy as that. For this one over here, we had 10 numbers, right, which is an even amount. If it's even amount, then we're going to get 2 numbers in the middle where we must take the average of the 2. Okay, so there is that. Now we will move down to probably one of the most important parts of this section, which is create a box plot to display the following data set. So now we're creating our own box plot. Okay, over here on the side, I'm going to write notes one by one in order to help you fill this out as easy as you possibly can. So step 1, we're going to find the max and min, maximum and the minimum of the data set. My lowest number, my minimum, is 3. So I'm going to put a line here, right above 3. And then I'm going to find my maximum, which is the highest number, 23. I'm going to put a line right over here. Okay, that's step 1. Pretty easy. That'll get you 2 out of the 5 points tomorrow. So now we need to find the median, which we should be able to do because we just did it. Now you might notice that this data set right here, this data set right here is the same as this one up here. So we already know what our median is. Our median is 12.5. So we can put a line right over 12.5. Okay. Now we're going to find the upper and the lower quartile. And here's how we do that. We're going to take our data set and split it in half, just like that. And then we're going to find the median of the lower half and the median of the upper half. So let's go ahead. Cross out right here, here, here. So there's my median of the lower data set, 6. Do the same thing over here. There's my median of the upper data set. So my lower quartile, the beginning of my box, starts at 6. So I'm going to put a dash on the 6 on the number line. My upper quartile is going to start at 20. right here. So I'm going to put a dash in the upper quartile for 20. Okay. Now, when we make our box plot, we're going to take these 3 middle dashes and make our box just like this. This is not going to be super straight, but that's okay. Okay. So there's our box. We're going to make sure our median goes through the box all the way from top to bottom. And then our maximum and our minimum are just going to be connected by lines, just like this. And there's our box plot. Okay. So if you're still confused on that, I would watch it one more time. Okay. So rewind it, try it yourself, although we've done it a couple times now. And step 3 over here, forgot to write it down. Sorry, that's on me. But after we found the median, we found the upper and lower quartile. So those are the 3 steps that you need to make a box plot. Okay. So we're going to flip to the back page now, right, and talk about quantitative versus categorical data. Okay. And this is honestly a pretty good section to start with because it's all vocabulary. So it says fill in the blank. Blank variables are represented by numbers that represent unit measures. So remember, anytime we have data set measured by numbers, we call that quantitative data. Okay? Where blank variables represent characteristics or attributes that are not unit measures. So anything else that's not numbers, we call that categorical data. Okay? Next, it says that quantitative data is displayed using blank and blank. So whenever we see that word displayed and we're talking about statistics, that means we're thinking of some sort of graph. So what kind of graphs can a quantitative data set use? We used one a lot on the front page, box plots. Okay, and then another one we talked about a little bit on Thursday of last week that we don't have to worry about too much yet because it's not on our quiz tomorrow. We'll focus on that on Thursday. Is histograms. Again, don't freak out if you don't know what a histogram is. Okay, we did talk about it a little bit, so you should have a general knowledge, but it won't be on your quiz tomorrow. Okay, and then it says categorical data is displayed by using blank and blank. So for that, we use pie charts and bar graphs. So there's all our vocabulary we will need. Okay. So now we're going to scroll down just a little bit and we're going to work on this table. So it tells us to identify which type of variable is suited for the following scenarios. So it's basically asking, if you were to ask people these questions, what type of data would you get back? Categorical or quantitative? So that's what we're going to go through and sort. So the first one says, what is your favorite color? Well, considering if I said my favorite color was purple and I asked a bunch of other people what their favorite color was, no one's going to give me a number. So therefore, it's going to be categorical data. Okay. The next question says, how many sodas do you drink in a week? Okay. It doesn't ask what kind of sodas do you drink in a week, or do you like to drink sodas in the week, right? It says how many. In other words, it's looking for a number, which means it is quantitative. Okay. Again, the next one also says how many heartbeats do you have in a minute? Well, I would have to count how many heartbeats I had in a minute, and I count using numbers. So therefore, quantitative. Then it says, how many hours of TV do you watch in a week? Well, again, it's asking for a number of hours, so therefore is quantitative. The next one says, what is your favorite animal? Okay, well, numbers are not animals. I would never answer that question with a number, so therefore it is categorical. Okay, then I'm looking at my last 2 questions. It says, who is your favorite movie star? Obviously, there's not a number. So we're saying that is categorical data. And how many sit-ups can you do in a minute? Well, we would count how many we could do, so therefore it is quantitative. So make sure you understand that quantitative means anything that can be measured by numbers. Make sure you understand that categorical is everything but numbers. It'll be all good. Okay? So now, to finish it off here, we're just going to describe the differences between histograms and bar graphs. Okay? Again, this isn't something that'll be on your quiz tomorrow, so you don't really have to freak out. Okay? But remember, histograms and box plots are pretty much one and the same, right? You can use both of them for quantitative data. So I'm going to say histograms help us display quantitative data. And then I'm going to say bar graphs help us display the opposite. Not the opposite. Sorry. They help us display categorical data. Okay. And that is the review for your quiz. Please make sure you study tonight. It is super important that you do. This will not make or break your grade, so you don't need to lose sleep over it, okay? But it's important to start the semester off on the right foot. So if you have any questions, you can always email me. You can always watch this video again. We've done this multiple times now, so you should have some general idea, okay? But for some reason, if you do not, that's okay. Again, you can reach out to me, and I'll be happy to help. But other than that, good luck studying.